Alright, hi, this is Danny Doyle, and welcome back to Paper Mario Level 1. Paper Mario T2ID Level 1, more specifically. I'm in Petal Fields, where there are not actually any mandatory fights, but I'm gonna get into one anyway, apparently. We're just gonna run away, because there's no reason to do this. It gains us nothing. I'm trying to get the Close Call Badge. Ugh! He's chasing me. He wants to fight. He wants to. I cannot wait until I get Yoshi and I can just run away from these fuckers on Yoshi. But yeah, that is that guy and that guy. There are not actually any mandatory fights between here and Koopa Village. So, or I get Petalburg? Yeah, Petalburg. I get them mixed up. So I will see you on the other side. Bye. Okay, so the first thing of note is the Schwomp Ruins. There are mandatory fights in here. I think we have to, yeah, we have to do this to fight the Clefts. They're not very hard. It's spalled Clefts. They can be a bit of an issue if you, like, because they have defense, they can be a bit of an issue if you don't just POW block them. But the shop sells POW blocks, and there are POW blocks for sale. Or there's POW blocks for sale in the shop, and then there's also a POW block and a question mark block right outside of this area. So, it's not that much of an issue. In an itemless run, you would use Hammer to pierce their defense, Power Smash or Power Jump are potentially useful there as well. I currently have Power Smash and Happy Flower equipped. However, moving right on to the second mandatory fight against the Bristles, we're also just gonna use a POW block because it'll pierce their defense. Bristles are a little bit harder because you can't hammer them because they have the spikies on the sides as well. But you can POW block them. So that strategy still works. Yeah, the Schwomp Ruins are kind of just a tutorial on using items, I guess. We're gonna get an in coupon. We don't need that because we're rich as shit, but we're gonna get it because we might as well. We do have the quiz here, but I'll come back after the quiz. Y'all don't want to see the quiz. Okay, so down here, we're gonna get multi-bounce. That's basically a jump attack that hits everyone. Oh, come on. The fuzzies chase you down, and they can be annoying. He caught me. Oh, and they have the Sleepy Sheep, too. That can be really obnoxious if they put you to sleep. Sleep is very powerful. I could, I guess, try to kill them and steal the Sleepy Sheep, but they're also available for sale, so it's not that hard. Yeah, there's a couple of mandatory fights in here. When we get our Sunstone and Moonstone, we have mandatory fights against the Fuzzies, which is why I didn't turn off. Oh, a little bit of lag there. They can be a little obnoxious, but thankfully, we can Fire Flower them. And solve it that way. So that was easy. I'll meet you for the next one. Okay, so when we grab the Moonstone, we are also going to have to fight Fuzzies. Now, I forgot to purchase a second Fire Flower, but thankfully there's actually a workaround to this. Newly introduced in T2ID, as compared to 64, partners can also use items. Oh, or that can happen also. The POW block makes it fairly likely the scenery falls down. I was going to have Goombella use a POW block as the second one, but, like, the run is not so perfect planned that I absolutely need to consume that POW block. So we'll just run away ahead to fight the Gold Fuzzy, who serves as the real boss of this area. If I hadn't gotten the scenery fall, I would have had the second power block, but instead we'll just do this. So, like before, I still have Power Smash and Happy Flower equipped as my 2 badges. So we're just gonna smash him. I think he's going to now summon help. Yep, there they are. So now we have to use jumps in order to reach him, because hammer targeting is always the frontmost one. But thankfully we can reach him with jumps, and each of the fuzzy hits are 1 damage, so if I just action command block all of them, there's not really any problem. Normally Fuzzies steal HP, but Gold Fuzzy doesn't, so we can just do this and kill him. And when you kill Gold Fuzzy, the other Fuzzies retreat. So this fight was really not anything. Hooray for Schwomp Ruins. That's the... Again, we're early in the game. This is a game for children, and we're in the early game. I shouldn't be surprised or complain that it's easy, because game for children, we're in Chapter 1. It will get harder when we are still level 1 later. Okay, so Koops has just forced himself into our party, and we're gonna go ahead and do a unit review on him. Koops is an AoE grounded attack specialist. His normal attack, while Goombella's normal attack mirrors Mario's jump, his mirrors Mario's hammer, and his abilities are kind of like variants of Mario's hammer abilities, which sounds bad, because hammer is worse than jump. However, I think having access to these abilities without having to pay BP can be quite useful. Shell Toss is just hammer. It hits the person in the front, and it's for 2 damage, so rather than being able to stack multiple, like, strong things in terms of, like, damage boosts and hit multiple times, he is not really stacking damage and instead trying to pierce through enemy defense. It's sort of the niche that he fills. And then Power Shell is the first AoE attack that you get. You don't have access to, like, Quake Hammer when Koops shows up. So he's useful in terms of that. Well, Quake Hammer would be piercing, which is closer to Shell Slam, which you do get Quake Hammer before Shell Slam. But you don't have access to AoE non-item attacks before Power Shell. So Power Shell is your first AoE attack. It only hits grounded foes, but hits all grounded foes, and it's that, again, that 2 damage one. So it instead of stacking a ton of power, well, you do still stack power with him for certain challenge runs, you really do. But rather than being the multi-hit thing and taking advantage of that power multiple times, it is you use that power to hit every enemy with it and gain the benefit that way. Shell Slam pierces defense. That is his Ultra ability, and it is, again, it's an AoE. It pierces defense. It only hits grounded enemies. It's pretty good. There's better grounded AoEs by the time that you get it, but if you're facing a bunch of defensive enemies, it's not the worst thing in the world, especially with certain loadouts in the pit. I can't think of too many, like, vanilla enemies that you would face other than, like, by vanilla I mean in the campaign, right? Not in the pit. But it has its uses. And then, I think it's called Shell, it's a defensive move. Shell Shield, I think it's called. Boosts Mario's defense for a set number of turns based on, succeeding or failing the action command, or I think it's a set number of hits. That's going to be quite useful to us, because we're stuck at 10 HP, which isn't the worst thing in the world. You usually want 10 HP because you can use low HP to boost your power, but given our limited FP and given our limited BP, we can't do as many, like, hyper-offensive strategies. And as such, we are going to have to sometimes rely on Mario being able to survive a couple of hits. So Koops is going to be quite useful. The other interesting thing about Koops is he has a point of defense. He's the only character in the game, only playable character in the game, who has a point of defense without using a defense up badge for that. As a trade-off, if Koops is hit by a jumping attack, he's flipped. And much like the Koopas that you face that you jump on and flip, he can't take an action until he unflips himself. So in the partners only run, this gave me a lot of trouble because he would, if I ever had him out against someone who could do a jumping attack, he would get flipped and I would lose instantly because you can't action command to guard if he's flipped. And as a result, I would just continue to get jumped and reflipped, and Mario wasn't allowed to do anything, so I would lose instantly. So that is something to watch out for that very specific scenario, or if you care about him losing his turns. But otherwise, I think he's pretty solid. I think Goobelle is better for obvious reasons, but Koops is still pretty solid. Okay, so Koops is going to immediately help us out by getting the Harpy Heart badge, which is a badge I doubt that I'll ever use, but I like pointing out when I get resources, and I'm not going to leave something behind in case I run into a situation where, oh, it turns out that this badge would actually be necessary or helpful or something. So yeah, I wanted to draw attention to it, just in case I need it. It likely won't ever come up, but I'm not going to leave a badge behind if it's easy to get. Speaking of easy to get but really bad badges, the next one we get is HP Plus, which has a very simple effect. You trade 3 BP for 5 HP. When I was younger, I thought this was really good because I didn't recognize the power of either FP or BP when I was like a little child playing Paper Mario 64. It's actively bad, actually. I don't think there's any strategies where we would ever use this, partially because you're trading all of your badges at level 1 for 5 HP, but partially because leveling up HP and getting higher than 10 HP total is actually a bad thing. Counterintuitively, if Mario has more than 10 HP, there are a large number of strategies you can't execute because low health strategies are extremely effective in this game. It's basically 3 houses, but Paper Mario. Okay, so post-recording Danny here, and let's talk about the first of the huge, very strong badges that we get, and that is Power Bounce. Power Bounce gives Mario access to an attack similar to Multi-Bonk. I mentioned earlier that the multi-hit attacks tend to be better because when you boost power, that power boost applies to every hit in the attack. It's not quite as strong as it might sound, because if, for example, with Power Bounce, where you continue to jump until you miss an action command or get capped, you boost your power by 7. It doesn't give plus 7 to every single attack in there. It gives plus 7 to the first hit, but then plus 6 to the second, plus 5 to the third, and so on and so forth. So you do get a boost applied to every attack, but it is diminishing by 1 until it hits the minimum of 1. You will always deal at least 1 damage with each bounce, as long as you're dealing at least 1 damage initially. So it is still kind of technically applied, but it's slightly more complicated. Still, this is one of the best badges in the game, because it gives Mario access to that very, very strong multiple hits, multi-hit move. And Mario tends to be the stronger attacker compared to the partners, just because there's more flexibility in everything that he can do. We're going in to face the first mini-boss of Hooktail's Castle. I say first, it's the only mini-boss of Hooktail's Castle, Red Bones. Red Bones is going to summon a bunch of Dull Bones as adds. Both Red Bones and the Dull Bones have an extra point of defense. I'm recording this post-production due to an audio error, but at the time, I didn't realize that while highlighting Power Bounce, I accidentally unequipped Power Smash, which is unfortunate because I planned on doing a strategy where I have Koops kill all the adds and deal 1 damage, and then I Power Smash to not quite kill Dull Bones, but get him down to the point where then another Koops attack can go for it. Still, Dull Bones is just going to build more, or Red Bones is just going to build more Dull Bones, and because we get the extra FP from the FP regen badge that we have equipped, Koops can, again, just zoom through, bada bing, bada boom, bada bam, and we can continue to rinse, lather, repeat, and just bonk Dull Bones, or Red Bones with a hammer, over and over. Now for this last time, we obviously don't have enough FP to do the AoE attack, but we don't need to, because Redbones is also only at 1 HP, so Koops can use Shell Shot, Hammer Targeting, kill this guy, and then Mario can use Hammer, which is also Hammer Targeting, to kill Redbones. Which, again, we're in the very early game of a children's game. We're not even that much lower level than you would expect to be in Hooktail's Castle. Like, we're maybe listing 3 or 4 levels. Maybe a little bit higher. You'd maybe be a little bit higher than that if you grinded. There are a few more things that I pick up here. I forgot. I didn't realize how close I was to getting hit there. There's 2 Shine Sprite, or there's a Shine Sprite and 2 Star Pieces that I pick up here. And then we proceed forward to get another one of the strongest badges in the game in Mega Rush P. So I'll talk about that when we get to it. But for now, just, I guess, watch me doing the Star Pieces. Okay, we just got paper mode, which means we can do this, and we can do this. Attack Effects R is technically actually a resource because it's used in specifically the Hooktail fight. So it's not technically just aesthetic. Because it is, as we learned in the partners only run, it is not necessary to beat Hooktail, but it is a big deal for beating Hooktail. And of course, anyone who knows this game knows immediately after getting paper mode where my next stop was going to be. We just got Mega Rush P. I think this is the strongest badge in the game. Now, under my criteria, I count for availability. In a similar vein to in Fire Emblem, a character who joins in the first map and is really good is going to be higher ranked than a character who joins in the last map and is really good. Just because they're around more and do more as a result of that. So Mega Rush P being available in Chapter 1, I think it is the most impactful badge for the entirety of the game, and is available from very, very close to the start. You do have to backtrack a little to have it for Hooktail, because it is available after you get paper mode, but it's in, obviously Petalburg, so you do have to backtrack a little bit, but I think it's absolutely worth it in any sort of challenge run that desires it, that can make use of strategies of it on Hooktail. So, when your partner has 1 HP, their attack power goes up by 5. This is an absurd spike in power. It's very necessary for, like, pre-Hooktail Pit, where you use it on Peril Koops, and you use, like, Quick Range Koops and Peril Mega Rush P in order to, like, do really, really high attack, screen clearing type, like, AoE attacks on the ground with plus 5 to his already 2 damage, so 7 to everyone, basically. But it's also good just, like, in day-to-day. Like, if you put it on Goombella, her basic attack goes from being 2 damage to 12 damage, because she gets plus 5 on both hits. Because it's not like a power bounce thing where you lose it every time. If you do power bounce, then she would lose it and go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, as the bonus. So if she did, like, multi-bounce or whatever, right? But in terms of just the basic jump, the basic head bonk, it gets boosted by 10. This badge is insane. All of that power for only 1 BP. Now, you do obviously have the fairly significant downside of having to have the partner at 1 HP. But you can either pre-peril setup by having them take damage outside of the combat you're worried about. So, like, just have them get hit by a bunch of Goombas and then go into Hooktail or whatever boss you're going into with 1 HP. Or, alternatively, many bosses' attacks you can guard or not guard in order to take specific HP values that you expect. You can set up Peril in the fight if you need them to take actions on, like, turn 1 and 2, and then have Peril on turn 3. You can pretty easily, like, figure out, okay, if I guard once and unguard once, they'll take the amount of damage I need to knock them into 1 HP. So it is relatively free to set up. In conjunction with Quick Change, you can keep them safe. Without Quick Change, it becomes harder to keep them safe. But oftentimes, it's not super necessary to do that. Sometimes you can just have them have a single explosive turn and then die. Sometimes you can have them have a single explosive turn and then, like, Mario uses his action to switch. Or you use, like, a point swap to restore their HP. Or whatever else you want to do. Oh, you can also use point swap to set up Peril. If you can spend enough FP to have exactly 1 FP, you can just use point swap to set up Peril and then... there, it's free setup. Like, there's so many cool things you can do to set up Peril. This badge is extremely strong, and it's going to be a key part of a lot of strategies in this run going forward. I really do think that it is the strongest badge in the game. Now, Mega Rush for Mario, I think tends to do more when you have it, because Mario tends to be the better attacker. Although there is the obvious downside of, like, Mario being at 1 HP gives you risk of game over, whereas partners being at 1 HP, you can let them die on purpose if you need to. So there is sort of that trade-off. But Mega Rush P is just around longer. We get this in Chapter 1. And I do think that because of the trade-off of, like, oh, you can do strategies where, like, you just have a single explosive turn with, like, Yoshi or something, and then he fucking dies, and it's fine because Mario is still alive and can finish the fight, does mean that, like, despite the fact that partners tend to be worse attackers than Mario, overall, the upside of Mega Rush P, I think, is at least enough that in conjunction with the availability bonus, I consider it just strictly better than Mega Rush for Mario. Just regular Mega Rush, not Mega Rush P. But anyway, I could gush about this badge all day long, but we have a dragon to slay, and... Okay, so next resource that we have is Last Stand P. This is the defensive equivalent of, not Mega Rush, but Power Rush, I think it's called. The lower version of Mega Rush. Where, basically, when you're in danger, so 5 HP or less, when the partner's in danger, 5 HP or less, they'll take half damage. This is mostly only useful for setting up Peril against specific bosses. It can, if you're doing, like, a danger strat instead of Peril strat, potentially help with giving them more survivability. Say you need, like, danger over the course of 2 turns, then you can potentially, with Last Stand, keep them alive. It is, I think, primarily for when you need to set up Peril inside battle. It's still pretty okay. This is a much more offensive game than defensive game, however, so defensive badges, as a result, just end up feeling worse. It's still okay. I don't think I'll see much use with it in this run, though. Okay, another Shine Sprite. Yup, another Shine Sprite. Alright, here we are, the main event. So I pre-damaged Goombella going into this to 3 HP by having her jump on spiky Goombas over and over and over. This is so that when she takes 2 damage from Hooktail's breath attack, which normally deals 4, but when you hit Hooktail with the cricket, it'll deal 2. She'll be in peril and be able to do a massive peril attack. So yeah, that's all the prep work I have going in. My badges are Happy Flower and Mega Rush P. And Koops is not pre-damaged at all. So you see that the first attack dealt 0. It's because the cricket is what removes her point of defense. Normally she has a point of defense. So I don't guard here so that I get set into peril. And then I'll have Goombella deal 12 to Hooktail. Knock her down to 3. And she's gonna single target. Okay, good. She went for Mario. And then I'm gonna have Mario do this. And Goombella knock her down. And this will transition the fight into phase 2. And in phase 2, I mean, first she asks us, like, a bunch of, oh, you want to keep your coins? Yeah, you just gotta say no to all these questions. That's disgusting. Okay, so now she's going to eat the audience, and that restores her health entirely. And then we gotta, or not entirely, but like, it restores 10 HP. And then we gotta just bonk her down with the cricket again, and then we gotta just, peril. Like, it's really not hard. And we're done. That's the Hooktail fight. Not actually that hard, honestly. Okay, so now that we beat Hooktail, we are gonna go get the second star power, Earth Tremor, but also a Shine Sprite. And this means we can upgrade one of either Koops or Goombella. And I actually haven't decided who I'm upgrading for the next, because it's for Chapter 2, right? And the options, obviously, Koops is ground AoE damage, and Goombella takes advantage of Mega Rush P on a single target better. So, yeah, I don't know which one of them I want upgraded first, because I only can get one before the Shadow Sirens fight. And I do also, just based on how Shine Sprites work, kind of need to be conservative with a few of them in order to get people to rank 4 on time for when I want them on rank 4. So, yeah. I don't know. I'm leaning towards Koops because of the Shadow Sirens fight and how helpful he'll be for that and sort of boosting his damage on that via upgrading him. He does also get the Shell Shield, I believe, is his ability at Super Rank. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll see. Okay, so I have decided on Koops, specifically because I want him to be stronger for the Shadow Sirens fight. I'm hoping to use him to just sort of like knock them out. And I think that by leveling him up and giving him the +1 to his attack, we can do that. So that's that plan. All right, we're sweeping through the House of Mouse badges. And the big ones on display right now are Unsimplifier and potentially also Last Stand, but I think Unsimplifier is a bigger deal than Last Stand. Last Stand might be used for some strategies, but Unsimplifier makes action commands harder, but gives you more star power out of it, special power. Which is good, because the special moves are incredibly powerful, and they are one of the few things not held back by being at level 1. So they will allow Mario to be, like, very, very explosive with them. And then Last Stand for when, late game fights, it can really help, make you survive more turns than you would think. Okay, so now that Chapter 1 is complete, we actually have access to Charlatan, which means we can purchase a number of very powerful items. Mega Rush for Mario, we can get Jumpman, Hammerman, and then we can also get some booze sheets and shooting stars and jam and jellies and other consumable items. The big ones are the badges. I am buying everything, mostly because emptying out his stock will theoretically make it take less time to get the ones I want, which are specifically Mega Rush and Jumpman. I got lucky and I got Mega Rush on the first attempt. I will go over all of those badges, though, as we're doing the Charlatan cycle. So Mega Rush, I already talked about Mega Rush P. Mega Rush is Mega Rush for Mario. You get it in Chapter 2, functionally, so it is slightly later than Mega Rush P. Mario tends to have more explosive turns, especially using, like, the various other badges, stacking them on each other. And special moves, and generally Mario is a better attacker than his partners, although with certain builds and setup, his partners can do significant damage. Theoretically, Mega Rush, like, helping the better dude, better party member, might make it better. The downside, of course, is that Mario has to be in peril as opposed to your partner being in peril. And Mario's death is a game over, so you do miss those strategies where you can, like, peril someone, have them explode, and then die and just solo the rest of the fight with Mario. You also can't combine it with Quick Change for basically no downside. If you have, like, they'll never take hits, so it's no downside. So there are advantages that Mega Rush brings, or that Mega Rush P brings, that Mega Rush does not. That when combined with the, like, small amount of extra availability, I do think makes it better. But Mega Rush is still incredibly good, and we will be using it at many, many points throughout this run as the strategies demand. Only having 3 BP, and therefore limiting what badges I can combine it with, will, I think, limit its utility to a degree. But, yeah. Jumpman is basically, it is another one of the best badges in the game. You get a lot of really good badges really early, and not just because of availability. Obviously the availability helps, but Jumpman prevents you from using hammer, allows you to use jumps, and gives your jumps extra power. The jump is just generally Mario's best attack. It hits twice. It can hit anyone who's not spiky, so it can hit aerial enemies and stuff too. Yeah, in general, jump is better than hammer, so Jumpman is close to just power plus, with very, very little downside. If you ever need to get it, like, need to use a hammer for a fight, and you know it, you can take Jumpman off. But in most fights, I feel like you don't need to hammer. As a result, Jumpman is very, very, very strong. It's basically just incredibly cheap power plus. It's a power plus we can actually equip. Again, another one that we'll probably be seeing a bunch of use. Hammerman is less so. I might still use it. I don't know. I don't see me ever using it. Hammerman stops you from... Oh, are we full? We're full. Hammerman stops you from using jumps and powers up your hammer. This is bad for 2 reasons. 1, jump is generally better than hammer. And 2, so when you power up the jump, right? The jump is a double attack. So you give +1 to your jump, it's actually +2. When you power up the hammer is a single hit. It is actually just +1. And as a result, Hammerman becomes strictly worse than Jumpman, even if you don't factor in the fact that jumping is stronger than hammers in most situations. As a result, Hammerman Challenge Run is a more difficult challenge run than the Jumpman challenge run. The no jumping is a pretty strict limitation, whereas no hammer is like, it's something that I feel like most runs and strategies do anyway. So yeah. The other stuff that we got was just consumables or like timing tutor and W emblem, like stuff that's not very good, or double pain, which is just a challenge run badge. The big, I guess you can use double pain to set up peril, more quickly for, like, if you need to take more damage to set, if you're trying to, like, preset peril, I can potentially see actual uses for double pain, which is kind of funny. Not in this playthrough, but if, like, for whatever reason, like, you needed to be at a certain HP and then needed to be at a different HP later in the fight, double pain can help you, like, just make sure you take specific amounts of damage. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Mostly it seems bad, but, like, I can see the potential for strategies that rely on double pain to set up peril on either Mario or the partner, and I think it's very cool that this game's battle system is deep enough that you can actually use double pain for a benefit for a strategy. I think that's really cool, and if that is not telling of how cool this game is, I don't know what is. But that's gonna be it for today. Like, comment, and subscribe if you are interested in seeing this run continue. And have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.